a single document that we are expanding on that has graphics for um, I'm working on a new graphic that has graphics for um, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, for everything we do. And we have words, we have the prompts. You don't have to use these, whatever. They have links built into them right here. And if you do want to post, that's great. And when they fill these out, there's a place to name who referred them. Who basically you guys get credit if people join. If people join as wholesalers, if people join as agents, people join as cold callers, if people want to do self storage, we have ads already created. You can use your own, but we already have the graphics made, we already have the posts made, they already have the links to the forums built in. Boom, 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 boom. Only thing is, a matter of crediting to you guys get money. You get a portion of every sale these ads bring in that you post. These ads bring in. This push is for wholesalers. These are some other graphics we can use for the education or whatever. This push is for cold callers. Right now, that's a big push for us, is getting cold callers. And this is just one more graphic I'm going to throw in there. So we have this, and all you do to do this is you go and you I'm thinking quickly before I forget to. Is you post the graphics and you post the images. You make sure it includes the link and you tag me. That's it. Tag me. And the me that you tag is. Let me get pooped again. What's going on over here? Alex, man, let me text you. You keep trying to come, and I'm trying to figure out why you're having trouble. So let me just text you right now, real quick. Oh boy. Hey, Alex, I'm noticing you're having trouble getting on the StreamYard. I can't tell if you're there or not, but you can also watch it on YouTube. But give me a call later today so we can get you set up and caught up, and we can figure out where you're at and how we can develop. All right, so that's that. So we have these Facebook ads, and the me that you're tagging is primarily this version of me. You can tag Steve Franco personally, but this is the me you're tagging. Oh wow, I gotta change my brokerage. I change the name. But anyway, this is the me you're tagging, and literally, what I like to do personally is I like to create a post like this one, and then share it. The reason I like that is because then it says group, and I can just go ba-bing, 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 ba-bing. Now on this computer, it does this little. It pops every group up individually. On the phone, at least on my phone, when I say share to group, these are all checkboxes, so I can share to like 20 groups at a time. Now here's the trick: when you forward this post, you want to grab the words into your clipboard, meaning literally copy this. Because some groups have a filter that says, I want to forward into this group, and I won't because this is the wrong ad for this group. I won't let it come in if it's just a forward. I won't let it come in. It needs to have words. So when it shows up as words in the actual post, which contains the forwarded post, which is words and image. It's a cheesy way to get through it. Otherwise, you just got to give them something. You have to give them something that speaks to their group purpose. Otherwise, the group filter won't let you post. That's on a group by group basis. So, and this is also the same kind of idea that you can use, and that's what these graphics are for that we've created. We've created graphics for going after landlords. And again, you don't have to use these. This is not a requirement. This is just, it's here. We buy houses in any condition. You want to sell this piece of crap? We're the guys who you want to sell this piece of crap to. Okay. So, and we got to remember that, first of all, this is not, you don't tell them it's a piece of crap unless they use that word first. But this, to them, this may be the largest asset they ever come in contact with. To us, this is just another day at the office. Their needs, the needs of the guy here, is what matters. Understanding, like, Ryan and I are, doing one in Plymouth today, which has been a little bit of a quiet season for us. And yeah, the woman needs to pay off her mortgage. She needs to move on to the next thing in life, and she needs the money to do so. She's vague on what she needs for money. So then we have to look at what she needs for money and how much we can give her. So we ran the property, and we came up. It's a 2-bedroom, 1,000 square foot in Plymouth. Plymouth ain't a great town. We, have run the numbers to determine what it's worth, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to take you through that. And now it's a matter of saying, okay, we think we can, if we buy it and dip it in gold, or someone buys it and dips it in gold. Gold for Plymouth is a pretty low bar. It's more like bronze. But you can say I love Plymouth. But we do that, it's going to sell for maybe 80 grand. It's just what the number is. And this is where the deal analysis comes in. And the deal analysis on flips is 2/3 of the sale price, so 2/3 of 80. So let's say 50 something. Because 20% off is going to be 16,000. So 80 minus 20 is 60. So the most someone can be into it, bought, fixed, and done, is probably 60. And with this particular house, they're going to probably put 20 into it. So 60 becomes 40. 40 becomes 50 becomes 40, and then I have to get a wholesale fee, so I have to go lower. So I should be at 30 grand for this house. And just so you guys understand how that math works, and I'll show it to you with our AI. But with a flip, it's 2/3 or 70% of the sale price. So using a simpler sale price, the sale price can be 150. 2/3 of that is 100. 100 is the most this flipper can put in, bought, fixed, and done. Now, if he's got 50,000 in work and $10,000 wholesale fee, 100 minus 50 is 50, minus 10 is 40. I got to buy that house for 40 in order to let the flipper be able to sell it for 150. Because they're in a county that almost never happens. You're almost always squeezing your parts, I guess we'll say. You're almost always squeezing your numbers. But it's good that we have a handy-dandy tool or set of tools. I'm going to scroll this up so you guys can actually read it. On reihomepage.com, resources, JVT. We have our forms and such. We have our docs and scripts. Script-based and data tools. We need our flood zone opened up. And we need at least our GPT analyzer opened up. We might need other things, but we definitely need those two things. And what are we, and it's going to ask us, it shouldn't come up with all of this because I've been using it, so it's kind of jumping. Chat's got a bad habit. It should come up like this, is how it should start fresh. Am I starting a new deal analysis? Am I continuing? Am I getting help with a problem? Because this is also your helper tool. Now, the other thing I want to show you in here is we have a GPT that is a team helper tool, which is you can't reach me, you can't reach Ryan, or you have a simple question you think is just a simple question. But understand, GPTs are never perfect. They're always vague. So just take its result as information, but not as a solution. Never go back to a seller with this. So I'm going to do a simple one. And what this does is a lot of launching other GPTs. There's a long version of this yesterday, but I'm going to give it a very simple GPT here. Say, we want flip only analysis, actually flip and rental analysis. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Plymouth, Pennsylvania that has comparables as shown on the sheet between 90,000 and 30,000, with the $30,000 and $40,000 ones being mobile homes as opposed to houses. The subject property is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square foot, almost new roof, 20-year-old furnace, some leaks in many of the baseboards throughout the house. So many baseboards, about 10 of them will have to be replaced. Everything else is outdated and not pretty, needs full cosmetics, a kitchen update, bathroom update. It needs to be touched in every which way. So we're going to assume repairs of $15,000 for paint and flooring. We're going to assume repairs of $7,000 for the kitchen and $3,000 for the bathrooms. And we're going to assume repairs of $2,500 to $3,000 for the heating system. And we're going to assume the electrical is okay for now. Now, let me check out of this. Now, for those of you out there, what you're really giving it is all of the information that you collected from all the sources. So I just gave it the short version, but everything you've collected, all the questions are in either the seller form or they are in the scripts and questions. And this is not just, okay, so it's very important. The number one thing, for those of you who are not licensed, you are 95.9% wasting your time if you bring me something that's already advertised. It's already on Facebook. It's already on social media. It's already on Zillow. The world has seen it at that price. Unless we can get it for like half that price, there's no value. Had someone bring me something, the land is listed on Facebook right now for $59,000. The guy said, hey, listen, you want to buy this? Well, I do, but I can't buy it at $59,000. Why? Because I need to find a buyer for it, and the world's already seen it at $59,000. So we get it under contract, and my agent, my trainee said, "Well, put it under contract for $50,000." I said, "Okay." Put it under contract at $50,000. We bring it back at $59,000. He's like, "Yeah." I said, "So we bring it back at the exact same price the world has seen it." So if you're not licensed, or you're not going after let me be your listing agent, things that are already advertised, 90% of the chance won't work. Now, this one was a lightning bolt. The guy's going to take $30,000 because he's that desperate, which tells me it's still probably not going to work, but at least he's giving us room. So you need all these. So you're going to call them up, and it's very important when you're talking to these people. Who are you? It's one of your first polite questions. Well, I'm the seller. Okay. So your name's on the deed? No, I'm the seller. I work for the owner. Okay. So your name's on the operating agreement for the company? No, I'm the seller. I work for the owner. Okay. So your check is cut from the same entity that owns the property, or are you a wholesaler? If they're a wholesaler, the game is almost always over. Because where is the room for us? I have done deals where I've signed on with wholesalers and I resold the property, but it's just rare. So if you're not talking to the deeded owner or the one in control, meaning the owner of the LLC that owns the property, 90% of the time you're wasting your time. If you're talking to a wholesaler, you're talking to somebody who says they're a seller who doesn't directly answer the question, you can run it. But the reality is if they're already marketing the property or they're not the owner and there's somebody in the middle, we want to be the somebody in the middle. We don't want to be somebody in the middle with somebody in the middle. We don't do daisy chains.
Very true.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So like, I don't work for that. So anyway, the other thing is, you're entering all this, you're getting all these answers about seller information, seller contact information, property information, nickname, city, state. Tell me about the units, tell me about the conditions. Okay, you might not get all that from the seller on your first phone call. You may have to fly with some of those things that are missing. But there is no reason, you might forget them, they may not want to answer. There is no reason that you should be presenting stuff to us. Pictures are also optional. We try to get pictures, but we don't insist on pictures. But the stuff that it, motivation, when do you need the money? Like this lady today, well, how much do you need? I need as much as I can get. Well, all right, how about if I give you $1,000? Well, no, I can't take that. Well, then put me in the universe. I'm not going to get an answer out of it. I'm just not. But what there's no reason you can't get me. First of all, you search it, you Google the address. On Zillow or any of them, it's going to say listed by owner, listed by broker. If it's listed with a licensed agent, we drop it right there. The conversation does not continue. Because the only person we're allowed to talk to is the licensed agent. Well, I have an agreement that I can market it myself. Great. I have a license that says I can't do that with you. Okay. Oh, Alex responded. I didn't see that. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. I'll send you the links later to the YouTube. That's weird, but anyway. So anyway, okay. So back to what I was saying is the ones that you, and I don't know how to say this nicely, so I'm just going to say it not nicely. But the ones that there's no reason that you can't answer, there's no reason you cannot answer if it's MLS listed. Because you can Google that and find that out. No reason you can't know if it's advertised. No reason you can't have the Google link, which is literally the link that when you Google it includes the Zillow and the blah, blah, blah. It's that link. It's Googled it, and that's the URL that shows up. Give me the Zillow link. Also PDF the Zillow so that I can see it and upload that. Google Maps. Give me the Google Maps link. When you go to Google Maps, you enter the address, it gives you a link. Give me that. Boom, boom. You then also want to open up a Google Drive folder for all this stuff I'm telling you you're PDFing. So you're going through it. There's no reason that you can't give me this stuff. There's no reason you can't give me Flood Zone. Flood Zone is right here listed off one of our references, as one of our resources, rather. There it is. You enter the address, and it'll give you the picture. And then you simply save the picture down, which will have a little dot for the house. Save that down as a picture. Well, there's absolutely no reason you can't have that. So you're grabbing this. You're also looking and saying, okay, I'm looking at it too. I'm not just saving the picture. There's no colors going on here. And of course, in a map, if there's no colors, you're not dealing with any of these. Whereas if I look at now I'm looking. This is not searching. Oh wait. Of course, it's going to be a pain in the butt to me now. Oh, I see. Okay. All right, now here's a great example. We've now discovered that this house is in Zone A flood zone. And again, you're going to save the picture down. You're going to store it, and you're going to provide the information. You're also going to be able to answer, is it in a flood zone? And yes, it's in flood zone A. By the way, if it has blue, many of us understand that blue is commonly associated with water. A flood zone with a bright blue like this is a bad sign. Doesn't mean you can't do anything with the property, but it means it's going to require flood insurance. That's not information. That's it. Just information for the buyer, simply, and it's also a negotiating factor. Ma'am, I would love to give you top market value for your house. If it was over here, I possibly could. But you're in a flood zone. Well, no, it'll never flood here. Well, according to the federal government, your lender is going to require, someone's lender when they buy the house is going to require flood insurance, and that's very expensive. So it's a negotiating tactic. All of this is information. So you're collecting all of this stuff, is what I'm getting at. Medias and files, pictures, and you're creating a Google Drive folder. You're uploading the Google Drive folder to the link of the Google Drive folder goes in here. And when you share the Google Drive folder, it's very important that you that's what the hell I just requested access to. So this is where I'm meant to be. So I want to share this Google Drive folder. It's still loading slow here. I want to share. And it's important that anyone with the link at least be a viewer, but for us, it should be an editor. And then copy the link and life goes on. And that link will go back into the form. So we have access to everything. Now, back to what you're running through here is your controller GPT told you to open this GPT. And now you're going to upload whatever we know on the property. You're going to upload your pictures, you're going to upload your whatever. And you're going to say, here you go. Here's everything we get. Your comps. There's no reason you can't run it through batch leads for me. And I'm saying this because most people don't. But there's no reason you can't run a property through batch leads or Flex or whatever your comping software is. And you can PDF this, and you can go to comps. I don't even care if the only thing you do is take out active and pending. We don't care about active and pending, we only care about sold. And you now have the ability to either PDF this out, which is the better thing to do, or save that down. So you've now saved that all down. Boom. And you upload that into the GPT. Now we've uploaded all that into the GPT, and it's going to lead you through a lot of other steps that come next. And it's going to kick you back and say, you didn't give me all the stuff. And you're going to say, yep, I know that. And ChatGPT is stupid. Sometimes you have to answer the questions twice. And you follow its instructions, and it will, and every time it completes a stage, two things are going to happen. You're going to take everything you have on it, and you're going to paste it, and you're going to upload whatever your files are. And then when it gives you a result, you're going to save that result into a Google Doc or a Word doc. You're going to literally take this, save it down, and upload it to the Google Drive. And I'm not going to go through the whole game. I'm just going to give you the sort of the top line version so you see this with deal analysis. And there's a lot of bouncing back and forth. There's about 9 steps to this. But again, this is something you can do. You copy it, you paste it into a Google Doc, and you also paste it back here again. And you play this ping pong game until it does all the ping pongs. And then it will give you, this will give you a final rundown valuation. It'll give you a completed document. That's what you do. Is save that document down, put it in the Google Drive, and then message us and say, hey, here's the result, because it's going to give you an executive summary. Include that in the message to us. I submitted the form, here's the result, and here's the link to the Google Drive. That's when we have enough to really get involved. We can't really get involved too early in the process. And I know it's easy for you guys to say, hey, this guy just contacted me. I just want to know if it's worth doing. But the only way I know if it's worth doing is if I have all the information. If I don't have this information, I have to go get that information. And I'll be perfectly blunt, guys. If you don't give me this information, then for those of you who are not licensed, the 40, 50% I can pay you gets smaller real fast. And agents, licensees, same thing. If I don't have the data, if I have to go find the data that you as an agent should get, then, I mean, I don't know how to say this nicely, so I'm just going to say this. I can't pay you as much. Because if I have to do what you guys are supposed to do, I can't pay you as much. So that's the reason we made this AI. That's the reason this AI has so many steps to it, is to make sure you've done everything you can to collect everything you can. And if you can't, you say, I can't collect that, here's partial information. Like one of the questions asked is zoning. That is almost never a required thing to do, but it's part of what we should get. Okay, can't get that. Don't know how to get that. Don't feel like getting that. Not important right now. Whatever. So it's going to run and give back a final answer. All you're here, based on some standard things. It's going to ask questions on condition. If you don't know, you don't know. But hey, listen, roof is 10 years old. You're going to give that. It's going to do the deal analysis for you. Now, what's it actually doing when it's doing deal analysis? And this is the general top line that I want to cover, is just to give you guys an idea. And by the way, this result is not something you go back to the seller. You don't go back to the seller until we talk. So that's kind of the that's kind of the point. Yes, better term. But there's rehab estimator, and you'll do this from the pictures. You'll do this from what they tell you. Hey, listen, the place is outdated, so you're going to enter in how many units it is, how many square foot, and if it's a multi, how many square foot of common area. The side-by-side double with everyone having their own private area. What do you have? A front and back porch that's common? Okay, fine. 500 feet. You got stairways, you got hallways, whatever. And so then it's going to say average per apartment. It's going to add this times 2 plus that divided by 2. Boom, boom. There we go. Cosmetic condition. I need to do 2 apartments totally over. That's the price to do 2 apartments at that size totally over. Done. Windows, bedrooms, da 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 da. The AI gives you an estimator like this. Okay. Total we have 90,000. We then jump into flip. And I do these in my head most of the time, but basically here's the spreadsheet. And you guys have this in your tools and such, by the way. Which when I'm pointing to tools and such, I'm pointing to main spreadsheet, basically. So it says, okay, if the ARV is 170, there's my 70%, because the flipper is not making a 30% profit. They're paying their lender 15% on what they borrowed. They're paying their realtor and closing costs 8% on their selling price, and the rest is profit. So they cannot spend more than 30 to 70%. That's the 150, 100, and then we start minusing. Rehab line item in this case, comes from the rehab sheet, but whatever. So we can spend 119. It's going to take 94 in this fictional example to repair the house. Holy crap. But yeah, it could be that. We have holding costs because we determined on this sheet or on this tab here that we're going to have holding costs, whatever. These can be zeroed out because they're part of the 30%. There's my wholesale fee. Oh, $111,000 minus, so 170 becomes 119, becomes minus all of these things. I can offer the guy $7,700 for his house. You are not going back to call him on that. You are providing this information. And we're telling you when to go back. Rentals. These are the questions for rentals. Rentals are a much more complicated scenario, so you almost never do rentals in your head, rental value in your head. But flip is a very easy one. It's okay. I'm going to sell it for 170. I'm going to be generous and stupid. You never go up. This is where you want to be harsher, not softer. You want to know, hey, listen, worst case scenario. Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to put a property under contract for 70 and find out the world thinks it's worth 60 because you were generous. But let's say this 170 was 180 instead. 2/3 of 180 is 120. Because 18 over 3 is 6, and boom, you're fine. The 120 is all we can spend on it. Okay, in this case of 70%, 126. Minus. So 126 minus 10,000 wholesale fee is 116 minus 94 minus 3,500. Bing, bing, bing. I can offer the guy 14,000 for his house. Now, in today's market in Luzerne County, it's still getting hard to do that. It's still getting hard to give people they still are trying to get for a higher price. So this gives you the range. Now, what the AI gives you is AI says this gives you the hard lowest number. And sometimes you sit there and say, all right, you know what? There's no way that's going to work. Now let me go look at my rehab numbers. All right, the furnace still functions. The plumbing still functions. I probably don't need to do a full plumbing replacement. I can probably just do a pad for 20% plumbing replacement. Yeah, okay, so 20%. I can probably on electrical do a pad for 20%. And I can probably say holding costs are probably 5 holding costs. So I've now lowered a lot of my costs. I mean, you can then say, okay, I'm looking at the exterior, and I don't really need to do a full exterior. I can do, half that. In a lot, and this is where the art comes in. So you're giving us the hard numbers and letting us work the art. We can discuss the art. And then this all gets figured out. So this is another spreadsheet you have, and you'll download this and you'll upload it to Google Drive, and you put it into the AI. The AI also creates its own. So kind of this is a little bit redundant. But effectively what I wanted to teach you guys was sort of the rule of thumb of how flip math works. And the rule of thumb of how rental math works. There's 1%, 2%, and 10 cap rule. And I want to teach you very, very quickly. The 1% rule, and this is a very standard rule that the world is that monthly rental income is 1% of purchase price. So if I'm renting it for $2,000, my purchase price is $200,000. 2% rule is similar. I'm renting it, and it's 2%. My NOI is 2%. The property should rent for at least 2% of its purchase price. And these are nothing but red light, green light. If it fails both of these, then the asking price is wrong, because these are easy bars to reach. Okay. I have a lot of places that make $2,000 a month, and they are not worth $200,000 a year. Not to me. I will not make money on them. If I owed $200,000 on them, I would not make money. So then the third rule is, and this is not, the third guideline, the third rule of thumb is 10 cap. Hard costs. So let's say your rent is $2,000 a month, and let's say your expenses, not mortgage, is $1,000 a month. So that's 1,000 left. That's 12,000 a year. 10% cap rate, meaning divide by 0.1. Place is worth 120. Cap rates different in each market. That's again why. But you're like, okay, 120 is where I want to get it for. 200 is what the 1% rule tells me. Oh, he's asking somewhere in between. That's fine. This is more for your education and your thumbnailing than it is for the actual decision factor. You guys aren't deciding and going back to the seller and saying, hey, you didn't make a 1% rule. We're not talking to you. That's strictly for me. This is a way for you to understand quick thumbnail math. So when Ryan and I are like, wow, that we'll have to run it, but that doesn't look good. Because this is what rental math looks like. It's not a quick thumbnail sketch. So all I wanted you guys to understand is that these are general rules of thumb. Even the 70% is a rule of thumb. Even the 2/3 is a rule of thumb. These are general rules of thumb. And a great example, and then I'll wrap up with this, is that we were talking yesterday. One of the guys found a 48-unit property in one of the Tennessee markets. I think it was Nashville. And by the way, guys, I got to beg you, okay? Please don't just randomly go around the country. Just don't. We focus on northeastern U.S. Self-storage, we focus on a bunch of places. But we focus on mid-Atlantic U.S. We focus primarily on Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, western New Jersey, southern and western New York, stuff that touches PA. Because we have the most data for that. We have the most information. We have the most resources. We have the most boots on the ground. And it's a very popular investing market. So why are we screwing around? Anyway, and I'm not saying it's like ignore anything outside the area, but you bring me something in Nashville, now we got to learn about Nashville. Bring me something the next day, you bring me something in Indiana. Okay, now I got to learn about Indiana. Why? Did you call the data? I mean, we have data. We have people to call. We have whatever. Did you call it? No, you didn't call it. Okay, fine. So, but anyway, he found this property. It's a 48 unit. It's pretty, reasonably okay in a very growing market in Tennessee. All right, fine. Growing market in Tennessee, fine. We're fine. We now have. They wanted, and so the numbers that they gave, and I'm just going to put these over here so you see them. They're making $44,000 a month on these units, and there's 38 units rented of 48. So they are and these shouldn't be dollars. These should be straight up numbers. Format. Numbers. So they're 79% occupied, which means 44,000, which means the most this property is going to make without changing anything is $55,000 a year if we're at 100% occupied. Now, I'm going to jump to the chase. I can show you a mortgage calculator, but if they want $9 million, and I do have questions because when I get to the loans of that volume, are probably going to be around, might be a different interest rate, but for me, my interest rates that I'm getting money at my scale is 6.5. Is not 6.7, not 67. 6.7 there on 30 years. Property tax. So $9 million at 6.7% over 30 years is a mortgage payment of $61,000. Now, for those of you who are not good at math, if this is my mortgage, and this is my max gross income, well, if I have a mortgage of that, I can't pay it with that. And we haven't even put in taxes, insurance, management, expenses, repairs, anything else. So instantly, this deal was like not going to happen. But I told Nair, I said, get the guy on the phone, let's have a conversation. And I was hoping there was a chink in his armor, that he was more desperate than we thought. He was just an individual landlord who was trying to cash out for the most he could get. Turns out he's a very sophisticated investor. He runs a syndication company, which is a large-scale investor in things like hotels and large property. And so he has all of his large property syndication arguments of why this still works. And my arguments of, yeah, but based on my numbers, it doesn't. And so there's not going to be a deal unless I can come up toward his number, because he's confident in what he has. No problem. But I had to explain him. So, you know what? Okay, so we have this, and then we had to take out taxes, etc., which is 15,000, and then there's mortgage, yada yada yada. So kind of the whole point comes down to, we knew going into it, it was 5-second evaluation. This ain't gonna work. But that doesn't mean we don't run the process. That doesn't mean you don't pull together the data, because we can't have an intelligent conversation if we haven't looked into it. Reality is, some markets don't follow this. You want to buy something pretty in Philadelphia, Memphis, Boston, you're living off a lower return. That's entirely doable. But basically, and really all of this information, all of what you're doing when you're collecting the stuff in the ChatGPT, when you're creating the Google Drive folder, it's also Ryan and I can then go back to the owner, or in the case of self-storage, Mike and I. So now, recapping, what I want you guys to focus on is getting in front of actual owners, direct sellers. You're going to end up, we do too, end up with wholesalers at some point. You're going to end up with other types of people in the equation. It's not, it's not your fault if we weren't able to get clarity on who they are. But you want to talk to them. You want to talk to a volume of them. You want to post promotions that bring those in. You want to dial our phone list. We have self-storage. We have mobile home park sellers. We have residential sellers. We have multifamily sellers. We have Pennsylvania. We have other places. Get your data on your own, whatever. We have dialers. We have software and company, and we have, right now we can put you in with a power dialer, and you can be dialing. Okay, we have batch leads as a dialer as well. We have all the tools you need. That's job one, collecting the information, putting it into a drive, running the AI, and then being like, okay, guys, you know what? I collected everything I could. I'm never going to be. You're never going to be complete. It is never going to happen. Put it all in. This is what AI says. Here's the information. Let's have a time to talk about it. That's 80% of the job, and it is not easy, because too many people in real estate right now, and it's a lot of getting no, a lot of getting I don't want to sell, because these lists are not people who raise their hand and said I want to sell. Bluntly, if that was the list, we don't need help. Batch leads list, which if you don't have access to batch leads list, let me know and I'll get you that. But right now we have the Mike and Steve list, which is Luzerne County. We have the larger list. We have the batch leads list. Okay. Yeah. Batch leads, and we have real estate bees. So we have 4 or 5 different lists plus self-storage. But you're calling, in most cases, you're calling these people, and they didn't ever think about selling. Or they're already listed. Or whatever. So you're a lot of calls to get to the gold. There's a lot of shovel scoops before you get to the gold. But when you get to the gold, it can be worth thousands per deal, per closing. So when you build a pipeline and you get that pipeline going, you want to buy data, you want to do postcards, you want to do whatever, great. Whatever you want to do is fine. So any questions before I let you guys go?
Not from me.
All right. Then I guess we're all set. And Glenn, I'm glad you're almost done your recertification process. When you get there, let me know, and we'll go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.